Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Today's video is going to be going over how we made this silicone face hugger. Except it's not going to be in the normal way which I usually do my videos. Instead, I'm going to be joined by Ashlee and Phil, and we're going to be here looking at the screens, going over old photos from when we originally made this project. And that's mainly because I don't have any footage of making this project because it predates most of the things I've done so far and is my longest ongoing thing I have ever worked on. So we're going to talk about how it started, how it kind of came to be, and how it actually went molding and creating this guy. And I needed them here because they played such a huge role in making this happen. Especially Ashlee, this is basically her project more than it is mine. So a little bit different video than normal, but I hope you guys enjoy. Okay.
All right.
Alien stasis tank panel part 1. Okay, so we are going to start with the sonotube facehugger stasis tank base that I got from another YouTube channel. It's by Odin Makes, but it's the videos on All Me. And he basically built his out of a sonotube, so I thought that would be an easy way to build one as well, and then cut a screen into it, which I got decently far into. And yeah, I mean, this whole thing basically got done. It was in my room. I had water flowing into it. There was a glass cylinder in there. I had a little bubbler in there. And then all I needed was the face hugger, which was the latex one that wasn't going to survive well in water. So then I ended up Actually, do you know how did this actually happen?
How did we come into fruition?
Yes.
Well, I was living my own life, minus Mario, and I worked with his mother, and she went pretty much exact words of, well, you're weird, so is my son. He's working on a project.
That sounds about right.
Let me give you his phone number. And she set us up on a crafting date, essentially, where we were, pen pals for probably like 6 months.
You were just messaging about a weird facehugger project that I wanted to do.
So then his, never meeting him before, his mom comes in with like a little mini facehugger and pretty much goes, this is what he wants. But he has a bigger one and he wants it in a tank and he wants it waterproof. And then has his phone number. I was like, all right, well, this is weird. I guess I'll send a message to my coworker's son, and we'll see if we can.
Yeah, I remember when you said that, and I was like, "That's very weird." It was just like your coworker's like, "Oh yes, message my son. He has this project. You like weird things. He likes weird things."
So
that does make a lot of sense for my mom to do that, though. At the same time.
Oh yeah, it 100% is your mother. So. So I messaged you, we started going back and forth, and I was like, alright, like, I'm down for this, but we've never done something like this before. So I do, like, a little bit of research, and then I come back with, well, you have 2 options. We can either take the plastic one you have and, like, maybe, like, try to figure out how to, like, resin dip it to, like, waterproof it, so you just pretty much have in case the fake one, or not the fake one, they're both fake.
Yeah,
the latex one forever, or, we can make you one out of just silicone somehow, which we've never done before, and you have something that's equating to like a floating dildo in your tank. And he went with the option of the floating dildo.
It's actually the opposite if you think about it.
It's actually kind of heavy. The latex one would have float.
So we chose recreation. So we're like, okay, do we want to make a test out of the tiny one your mother gave me as an example? And Mario said no. We were going to do the full-size one from the very beginning with no regard to having no idea of what we're doing.
Yeah, I had a lot of blind optimism in my early days of making anything at all, and just was like, when Ashley was like, oh, we should just do a test on a small scale to see if everything will work out, I said, no, we'll just get the silicone for the big one and we'll full send.
Mm-hmm. But to be fair, if you're going to do it, you might as well do what you want to do.
That was my mentality.
That was past Mario's mentality.
Yeah, not currently, no.
Yeah,
there was a lot of things that could have went wrong. There was a lot of things that should have went wrong with this project that didn't.
So, but once we, like, decided on the full silicone send, I started really researching into everything, and I found, through other creatives that I know, the Stan Winston online school, So I started digging into that, how to do the molds. I talked to other creatives that I know, and I was like, hey, can I make a silicone on silicone mold? Like, do we think that's smart? And everyone I talked to said no. They went, don't do it. So I proceeded to not listen and continued to research it. And you started with the box first, right?
No, we actually started with a clay.
Making the box. Like you started for the mold. You started shaping that out.
Did I
shape?
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, you started making the box first.
Yeah.
So we took the face hugger and we started with the clay and we started doing it up halfway around it. And then when we got to like a certain point, which was all 8 of its legs, I started trying to Google how to do a 2-part mold with things with lots of legs, and I got a cap of 4. So I got horses, I got goats, I got how to mold pretty much anything with 4 legs. It's a farm animal, but not a spider. So I was really hoping on how to mold a spider.
This is in around where you called me, and I found like the Destiny gun for like doing the half mold.
Oh,
yeah,
that was the Punished Props video. And that helped a lot.
Yeah.
It did.
So,
it did.
Weird. It's like side note when you said you were Googling things and that like it wasn't coming up how to like a mold with multiple legs and you got a horse. I had researched how to. I was trying to not get the water to like ever evaporate inside of the tank.
Right.
So I literally Googled how to make water last forever. and then all of my friends had come over like the day later, and like somehow that came up on the search bar, and I still will catch shit for that. My buddy Jack would just be like, "Oh, it's like trying to figure out how to make water last forever." I was like, okay, I was just trying to help myself.
So we started the clay, we started the legs. At this point, we were just at full send. But as we kept adding more clay, we kept realizing we didn't have enough clay.
We ordered clay 3 times, which is a nice foreshadow on how this project turned out.
Yeah, it's going to be, it was literally
It's like 30 pounds worth of clay.
It is 30 pounds worth of clay I think we had to begin with, which should have been like our sign to stop, and it wasn't.
Yeah, we got to halfway. We poked all the holes.
Yeah, so we did all the
box.
registration marks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was from we learned that I think from the
mix of
Stan Winston, and I think the Punished Props video had it too.
Yeah, for the Destiny pistol. Yeah.
Yeah, so we followed that through, and we did all our registration marks, and then we went to our first pour. And I mean, at this point, we were feeling a little optimistic. It looked really nice, and then
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my god, the backwards hat is killing me with the Carhartt and the let's do it bucket. That's...
I do look very young in this photo.
You were forcing me because I didn't want to take pictures of any of this, so most of these came from Ashlee's phone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I was anti-video or picture.
Yeah, when we started this, I was like, Mary, you should document all of this. You should like record it. You should do this. And he's like, nah.
And I'm like,
I just want to face hugger. I don't care.
It's just for my own private use.
Yeah, it's just for me.
I don't like the way you said that.
But I think we're at this point where like we were terrified because not only did we not know what was under the face hugger when we did the first half of the mold, we didn't know if we were going to be able to get the face hugger out when we put the silicone on top. So like our next step was literally taking the silicone and doing the next pour and hoping that we didn't have to, because didn't you say that these were discontinued? The face huggers?
I think
they
might
have come back, actually.
Might have,
I think they might have come back recently.
There was some concern that we were never going to get this out again, and it might have just been encased in 10 gallons of silicone forever.
Oh yeah, if it stuck to itself. But that's what the ease release was for.
But
not knowing that was gonna work.
Yeah.
Also, there are so many better ways to do. This is probably the worst way to go about this mold. There's so many ways, because like, what do they do? They'll put like a thin coating of silicone around the whole thing.
Yeah, but
they'll frame it out in like a resin or like a fiberglass mold.
Yeah, it's the plaster.
Yeah.
It's like kind of doing like life casting, but then you do plaster. And then it makes the hard shell.
And then you can mold it around it, and then you have a big size mold with a silicone, like a thin silicone shell to get all the detail, which is what we
probably should have done
Well,
versus.
it's that.
But it's
and,
learning.
Well,
Oh yeah, no,
it's
I know.
learning.
No, it is. I mean,
But-
yeah.
But I mean, this is the first thing we've literally ever done. This still predates you starting Wired Workshop.
Oh, it
like
does,
we're
yeah.
still predating all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God! Stop. Was this when we had just run out of the silicone?
Yes, it was.
Stop. Okay.
So we ordered silicone, I think, at least 3 different times. And like once you get started with this, you kind of just gotta just keep buying more because
You're
you're
not
just
gonna
gonna have
stop.
yeah. Because you can just pour it on top and it'll just stick to itself. But you know, it's funny because we have the ridges there
Right.
on
Right.
the face hugger probably because we stopped it there. 'Cause there's
Actually,
like some
yeah, you're right.
imperfections in the mold
You're right.
because
You're right.
we had to re-pour. I mean, it still works, but
I forgot the trauma of it just being
Honestly.
like the ridge and like the knuckles. No,
And
Mara
Mario
pours
poured
nothing
it.
slow. Oh,
I-
you have the buckets.
I
You have a photo of the buckets.
there's all the silicone buckets.
Oh.
Yeah,
God.
I don't even think that was all of them, but that was.
No. What is that? One,
might-
2,
that
3,
might be
4,
all of
5.
them,
I think
actually.
that is. You
That
said
might be all of the smooth one. Yeah, I think it was 10
Yeah.
gallons. So that
Yeah.
was 10 gallons of. I don't want to talk about how much money that was now.
no. You didn't want to
Oh.
talk about it then.
Oh,
We had to leave defeated one more time, and the amount of times that this happened as we were doing this project, where like we would run out of clay and be like,
we need more
Crap.
clay. Order
"We need
more.
more clay." So I go home. He'd be like, "I got more clay." He'd come back over. Be
The
like,
clay is
"Shit,
in.
we need more clay." And come back.
And we're like, every time we're like, oh, this will definitely be enough. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
we'll get like, we'll be halfway through the session. We'll just be like, oh, we're definitely going to need more.
I'm pretty sure we were pouring it over the ridges of the last time, being like, "Is this enough? Are you sure it's enough?" So, like, remember when we took this out, we initially thought that we had our opening. We were like, "Yeah, it opened. Thank God." We didn't encase our face hugger in a silicone prison. And then when we pulled it out, it was, like, juicy.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
you could see the
it was-
mold glistening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was uncured silicone that was on there. And the
And he-
whole mold would have been like that if we didn't have the Inhibit X on there.
Yeah.
So it's just where, I guess
The
we didn't get
latex
enough.
was- yeah.
you
It's the
just
vagina
bled through.
part.
Not
It's
really.
just
It's, I
juicy.
forget what the flap.
No, a lot of it was.
Yeah, it is.
So, like,
Yeah, it's right here.
look, like,
Yeah.
and you'll see that little corner of the blue. That's exactly where, like, there's the imperfections in the actual
Yeah.
face hugger that we didn't get to yet. So, like, you'll see where, like, the biggest parts are the parts that have the actual imperfections because it just didn't latch there for whatever reason, or we didn't spray enough
Because of the
or whatever.
latex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we were back to being pretty worried again. I mean, we had our success of the fact that we actually did make a mold, but it was a juicy mold. But we wiped it down. What did we do? We took
wiped
alcohol.
There was mineral spirits.
Yes,
we used mineral
yes,
spirits
yes.
And possibly acetone, I think. To
Yeah.
try to clean up the inside of the mold and get that like tackiness out of it.
Yeah, which we did a good job with, I
Yeah.
think. Every time I came to Mario's house for a project, I was coming from work and I somehow managed to get silicone and or paint and or something all over the work clothes that I had on. So I had this poncho thing on that I was doing and I leaned over and I got the silicone all inside of it, and at that point somehow we dubbed this as Project Poncho. And from that point on, this whole thing was referred to as Poncho.
Yes.
And that was its full name.
That is the face hugger's name.
The name written on the mold as well.
It's
Yeah.
Poncho.
Project
yeah,
Poncho.
Project Poncho.
What a
So-
weird name for a face hugger.
It is, but I ruined so many of my clothes on this project. Project Poncho it was. We got into pour day, which was scary in itself because now we were going into pouring something that was going to cure in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
We shoved a funnel in it.
we did. We
Mixed up
shoved
some
a
silicone.
Yep.
We dyed the silicone the tan skin flesh color, so it didn't start with a like a clearer space, so it's easier to paint that way.
Yeah, so we gave it like a nice flesh tone and then kind of just sent it and hoped for the best. And the best wasn't happening at first.
No. We had the majority of the silicone cure in the bucket, and then it started to cure going down the tail. So after, I think it was cures in 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Or sets in 10 minutes, cures in 30 minutes.
Yes, and I think it had like I think it literally was just like a 10-minute working time, right?
So
like that's all it
10-minute
had.
hot life.
Yeah, that's all it had.
Yeah,
so,
that's why I meant by set time. Sorry,
Yeah,
hot
yeah.
life, yeah.
Yeah, so we scratched that and went, okay, take 2. So we did the same thing. We put the skin flesh tone in there, and we mixed it all up, and we opened up the tail this time instead of having the funnel. I forget how we were holding it, because now you have those 2 pieces of wood and the mold. Somebody is pouring, somebody is holding it open, and we are literally like hoping for the best.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it was basically just like, it's almost like, I'm thinking like the King Kong movie when he was ripping open the T-Rex's mouth.
Yeah.
You were like,
holding it
or
open.
like Godzilla when he's about to do like
Yeah.
the breath inside.
Yeah.
Literally, we're like split the mold open and like the other person's pouring the silicone in the middle of this thing, just so it can reach down. We did this in like 2 or 3 different pours. So we mixed up silicone, dumped it 1 in the fingers,
Yes.
shut the mold, 2 opened it up, poured it into the base, shut it, mixed up more silicone, and then put it down the tail.
Yeah.
And that way, everything kind of started to cure and settle up at the same time, and then we finally got our first silicone face hugger out of the mold.
Poncho
The
was
poncho.
born. Yeah.
And then we unveiled this. Although, did it not go down the tail all the way?
It
I
looks
think
like it didn't. I guess we just closed it back up and went like,
Yeah,
oh.
and then I forgot about that.
I did too.
I thought because I thought we cut the tip off and it was fine. I guess not.
No, I guess not. I guess we had to put. Oh, look at that! Something we forgot. It didn't come out perfect like we thought it did in our head.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
for
so-
all intents and purposes, there's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that we had to put some at the tail. I think that's probably why we didn't remember, because it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, that was easy to fix.
You know what I mean? We just closed it and
Yeah.
put the tail back up. So we had a face hugger, and it looked pretty dang good.
And gross. And it moved very gross.
Yeah, for
And Poncho was born.
yeah, Poncho was born for being something that we had no business doing with no knowledge of what to do. It came out pretty decent. I wouldn't advise anybody else to do it. I understand why everyone told me not to do it.
Yeah.
But-
Putting silicone on something that's latex that would mess up the curing.
And then-
Doing a silicone on silicone mold, that was a bad idea.
Just
And
the
doing-
amount of clay, too.
Yeah,
and like,
the amount of clay. And then also not having done this before at all. Why would this be the first thing that you do? I feel like I kind of still do stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah, no,
I'm a little
it's-
bit more cautious and careful with testing, but like, I don't know why everything I have to do for the first time has to be.
learning.
extra.
Yeah.
There's so many
Well,
legs.
because if you
Yeah.
could do this, you could do something smaller.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Right?
It's literally yeah.
That's exactly what the mentality is.
Yeah. So yeah, next started the next day. So I guess after we fixed the tail.
Well, it was also just like playing with it after it came out of the mold.
Oh, yeah,
having
we
the
played
finger
with
shakes
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, it was
the realistic
it was such-
movements.
It was such a joyful day when we pulled that
It
out.
was, yeah. It
And
was
we
great.
like pulled it out and we were like shaking it. We were like we were definitely like unhinged that night because we were just kind of shaking it around and just the way that it
Yeah.
moved.
I think it was like 11 o'clock, so you finally had to go. And that was like, we just took it out. I remember sitting on the couch just looking at this thing for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, just like
So pumped. Just like, oh, this is great. I can't believe
Yeah,
we did
we
that. And
kinda-
you just like, because you look at the one that we used for the mold, and then you use like,
You look at the
ours,
comparison.
and then you shake it.
Yeah.
And
And it's no- there's no
It's
comparison.
like, oh, it's great.
no point.
There you go.
And
You can get the finger shaking.
it's just so fun. He just
That's debatably your child.
it is debatably his is my child. As I pet.
Stop
As
shaking.
I pet it.
But no, so basically at this point, you know, we started the painting. So I started doing some research because, like, my goal is that I wanted it to be realistic, to, like, true to the movie, but as if it was, like, in the real world. So I wanted it to be more flesh tone than, like, the traditional, more, like, yellowy color. you
Yeah,
would
it's a lot.
say.
It's usually a lot darker, but we both.
I think it's more like the nails that you ended up doing.
Yeah,
for
like,
the body,
I wanted
with
it-
this yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
is.
wanted it to be like it came out of like someone's like skin tone and just to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like to look at. That's fully
I
what
think
I wanted.
we both decided, like, because I think, because it started off lighter once we first dyed it, and then once you start going, we were both like, this could be darker like it was in the movie, but also we kind of like how it's a little more human fleshy.
But yeah, so we wanted it to be some sort of skin fleshy type, but also we just wanted it to look uneasy, I guess, essentially. So I started with the pinks, and I pulled in some like subtle veining to start doing things and like fully like layering everything out, because I wanted it to look like
Like the shadow lines that you put.
Yeah, I wanted to pop the veining out more with the shadow line. But I started with like darkening up the ridges and just really trying to pull like the different veining out after I put my own little bits of like veining in. So that way, you know, I really wanted to give it like this like translucent, veiny skin grossness feel. But my biggest challenge was like looking at like the imperfections of the mold and trying to figure out like what we could do with them. And eventually, as I'm staring at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, these could be wounds. These could be like, you know, something happened to it. So like my first iteration of it, it was very like bruisey and red. And Mara's like, yeah, that's great and all, but you clearly haven't watched that many of the movies because they bleed green. And I'm like, oh.
Did I say that? That
yes.
sounds like something I was...
Yeah, they bleed green. And I was like, okay,
Actually, it's acid. Oh.
Like what? What is it?
I was about to say, actually, it's acid. For
so sorry. Anyway, it's green, not red. So, I was like, all right, not back to the drawing board, but we'll add some accents in there. So eventually, instead of doing more of the red pinky color, I pulled in a bunch of green and like tried to make it a little bit more heavy, so that my thought was that like something was happening and this thing was like dragging and it kind of like skinned itself across. Yeah. Like a counter is what I thought. And at the top,
kind of knuckle dragging.
Yeah, something to that extent. And then these corners up here and like these holes, I kind of made them like boils, almost like something had happened and they like it boiled
to
up.
me, this is like a healing type wound.
Yeah, like a big bruise too.
Yeah. So like I pulled those together to kind of I took the imperfections and tried to make them like there was a purpose. To the imperfections. And then my favorite part was I just wanted to create these like gross yellowing fingernails.
I believe you said you wanted to recreate like a heavy smoker's fingernails.
I don't think that's what I said. Do heavy smokers have yellow nails?
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to create gross yellow fingernails that I guess were like that. Sorry, everybody who smokes. Yeah. No offense, and I hope your fingernails don't look like this. Yeah, so I just wanted these uneasy, gross fingernails, which I think we achieved pretty well. They're definitely very unsettling.
There's no we, it was you.
Yeah, it's all you. This is all
painted the whole thing.
Yeah, this is her all creative direction for painting.
Pretty much the whole mold too. I was just there helping put clay on the board. That's it. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, you
I mean, you did stuff. You
did a lot. You handled most of it. I just was like, I think this is how this works. Here you go. Let's try it. Like,
I said, okay. Let's do it with my bucket.
Yeah, let's do it. But yeah, so then we ended up with a fully painted face hugger. I was trying to get it where it looks very...
Don't slap the face. Stop slapping the face.
So, once we got the face hugger, I don't know if it was after this completely or if it was mid-project where I was like, I think I could do better than the sonotube base that's basically cardboard. And I had just gotten a 3D printer, and the first thing I decided I was going to 3D model was the two bases of the facehugger tank.
Top and the bottom.
The top and the bottom, yeah. And the lid.
When Mare texted me about this, I pretty much went, we're going to do this project forever.
Well, this was the start of the iterations of tanks.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a still shot that's almost printed, I believe, on the CR10S5. And I didn't have the actual video, but there was one I found on my Instagram of a time lapse of it being printed.
199 weeks ago.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's just the bottom base and then the lid, which I didn't end up using this lid because that's looked like a trash can lid.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you ended up liking that.
Yeah. And Ashlee also painted the tank, which we also don't have many shots of it being
painted,
but we do have full shots of the whole tank put together with the facehugger in it, and these are the very short moments that
it lived in the tank.
Yeah.
It lived in the tank.
I know, and we were so proud of it because like the pressed metal feel and the way the tank worked. Like we were just
the
you
painting,
did a great job
the
painting
painting
the tank,
method of
yeah.
that, like the dark base layer with like.
I mean,
the
you did a
middle
great job
paint.
sanding that tank.
Oh, that's
Holy
I did that
crap.
the worst way. Yeah, so that was FDM, and it was a very thick layer line. So I sanded this thing for like a week.
Now
He
knowing
sanded so long.
I don't even think I talked about how a tank works too much, but it basically it lights up at the bottom. There's light tubes that go up into it. That's supposed to be like a pumping into feature into the water. I mean, it doesn't, but I could change the color of the lights to make it look how I wanted to. There was a button for the oxygen, which was the bubbler, and then a button for the lights, and then the big red stop button killed everything. It was basically just an emergency stop. Like I figured you would have in a lab. It would probably like cryo shock a facehugger and kill it, even though it definitely does not do that.
No.
But also I took I think it was the intro or like the main menu screen from Alien vs. Predator, the video game. And it had a facehugger with the diagnostics. And it was actually like perfect and it fit. So that's what played on the screen.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, that's basically how it works. But if we look down here, we can see water starting to form up on the wood. And that's because the glass had cracked from me trying to get it in the plastic base. Now, everything had fit perfectly fine beforehand, before you painted it. So between painting it and then you giving it back to me, and then there was another year gap in between that to where I finally started to put this together.
Oh yeah, that's right. It sat on a shelf for so long.
And this was PLA. This was not PETG, which PLA has a better chance to warp. So it ended up warping. So I was like smashing this glass into this tank and like heating it up and just trying to get it to
go in there.
But also I think I had already decided I wanted to do an all metal tank past this anyway. Because this had taken so long in between. Like this was not like a
quick.
There was probably 5 or 6 projects in between this whole span of time. And then when I tried to take it all apart, I ended up breaking the glass. So the first thing after it broke, you can see because my tools were all still out from putting it together, was to grab my camera and start taking pictures of it. And I was like, let me lay the facehugger in there to make it look like it got out.
Well, I mean, you got to do something with the trauma of everything we just did.
And then just bought my colored lights and start making. This is what I did. I just
Christmas poncho.
I now dressed it up to make it look like it had broken free and tipped over.
I mean, as you should have. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do? Like, that looks so good like that. And then,
it
what
did.
was it? It was
sure
literally
did.
just overnight. It wasn't long, right? It was literally like...
No, it never. It was like... That was probably like that for maybe an hour.
Oh, it wasn't like an hour.
That was
before.
an hour. Everything that we've done up to this point was actually put together. And it was gone.
There it is gone.
An hour. You had a home for an hour.
Oh.
He is literally actually one of a kind.
That's true. I mean, besides the Nika mold that a lot of people, or the original one that he has, but they don't have silicone versions of
Look,
this.
they don't have silicone. I'm saying the
And
paint job,
technically-
the mold, the wounds.
Also, I guess we should probably talk about how it's probably not the best to mold something that somebody else made, because I know a couple people have asked us for facehuggers to buy. And that's always been a weird thing to talk about because
we
not really
make the
we didn't make the original.
Yeah. Yes, it originally came from something else, but we've added a lot to it. We changed a lot to it. I mean, you can only do so much with a movie prop without it being the movie prompt
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But
There's nothing bad that we did. It's just
No.
I just wanted to point out that
no.
it's not good to
No,
mold
don't
somebody
do it.
else's.
If we were ever going to make something that would be money minus the whole copyright issue and this, that, and the other, and it's for a movie, we
That
would
part doesn't matter.
Right.
Yes. No, I don't.
we would definitely take something from scratch before we.
Yeah. Sell it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, we would
even,
never.
Even though we have a mold for it, if we were to replicate it, it would just be for
This would
our
never-
own use.
Yeah, this would never go.
Be for
to-
funsies. Have
Yeah.
Facehugger Wars.
Yeah, we would
Yes.
never do this for anything else other than just our own satisfaction of putting a massive silicone blobbed alien into a tank of water and having it explode
Okay.
an hour later.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hear me out. Can we make a robotic skeleton for like the fingers, and then we could have like them actually like walk and fight?
That's funny you say that. We would love to make an animatronic.
That's true. That would be the next
Right?
one. That is part 3 of.
That's part 3 of the project that's never going to end. This started our friendship, and I don't think we're going to be friends after it ends. Like, I think
You
we
just
just
don't
need
think this is it? It's gonna be like 15 years. We're gonna be done. It's like, Ashley, it's been nice doing business with you.
Yeah.
Well,
We've accomplished our task.
our
This is
contract has
amazing.
been concluded.
Our contract is done. Yeah.
We've made 6 different versions of facehuggers.
Oh, God.
We have
Yeah.
7 different tanks.
So we're gonna be on. It'll be Tank version 3 and then Facehugger version 2.
Basically, so phase 2 of this concludes what phase 1
This
of
is this was just a video talking about everything that we didn't actually have footage for, and this all predated me even having a camera or wanting to take pictures or create any kind of documentation of this project at all. I feel
And
like
also kind of encapsulated like the beginning of a friendship.
it did.
It did,
Yeah,
it
between the
did.
3 of us. Yeah.
So we wanted
Somehow a Facehugger project
and your mother.
and my mom got her friend from work to help me build this. Yes. That is... But yeah, no, that's basically a summary of everything that happened so far. And then the second video is going to be us reusing the mold with some different silicones to see how that turns out. And reusing the old tank that got busted in this video.
Yeah.
That was it. A little bit
it.
different video this time around for sure. But no,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But we
It's a good
wanted to
update.
share. Yeah, we wanted to share with you the, I guess the beginning of our workshop, the beginning and end of our friendship.
Well, you're fired.
I am fired. You'll never see me again.
Probably not.
No.
Except for the COD Zombie Switch. Then.
And the next video.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna keep saying me.
That's it. This video's done.